What is going on, everyone? You're all very welcome to the Gaelic Gridiron podcast, brought to you by Print My Pint. If you're looking for something unique or different for your next birthday, corporate event, or wedding, or christening, or whatever you have, make sure you check them out on printmypint.ie, and we're delighted to have them on board as sponsors for the season. Week 7 of the NFL in the books. Stephen Kearns, Connor Tate, and Jimmy English coming to you on this Monday evening. Lads, another weird and wacky weekend of NFL action, and it hasn't even finished yet. Monday Night Football, of course, still to come tonight. Look, let's get straight into it. First of all, Connor, you're in Palma. How's the weather over there?
Yeah, you know what? It's 24 degrees with scattered cloud and sunshine, so I'm doing okay. I would prefer, if I'm being honest, 26 and not as much cloud, but I'm working with it. It's okay.
Well, look, at least you have no rain. I mean, it definitely is October weather here. Very autumnal. It is nice though being tucked up, and I'm sure everyone listening will agree with the darker evenings coming in when you're sitting in watching football in the dark. So, looking forward to a good year or winter of NFL football ahead. Look, before we talk about Sunday's games, we do have to go back and talk about Thursday night football because the Bengals with a newfangled quarterback in Joe Flacco taking on Twist's favorite topic, the highest paid defense in the league, could not contain the aging Joe Flacco, who he diced up the secondary. Twist, really. It wasn't pretty to watch. And the defense had been making strides. Our secondary had been making progress, and it was all wiped away last Thursday night.
Fire Terrell Austin out of a cannon into the sun. He's got a talented defense that he can work with, and he can't cover two basic quick slants. Like, every time he turned around, Jamar Chase was out in the open, and the nearest DB was 5-10 yards away from him. Chase finished the game, 16 receptions, 161 yards on a touchdown, 116 yards on a touchdown. He literally ran up and down the field all over the Steelers. Flacco comes out, third or fourth team at this point of the year, like 342 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then Brown, their running back, 108 yards rushing and 9.8 yards per carry. The highest paid defense that's designed to stop the run couldn't keep a guy under 5 yards per carry, nearly a first down per carry for the whole game. The secondary, apparently they don't need to cover Jamar Chase. He doesn't exist, And then TJ Watt, half sack and half tackle the whole game. Couldn't get anywhere near Joe Flacco. Cameron Hayward couldn't get anywhere near Joe Flacco. You've got a 40-plus-year-old quarterback out there who's not as mobile, who's there showing up like the top division team, the team at the top of the division, the guys who have the touted highest paid defense, superstar defensive end TJ Watt. You got a great interior lineman Cam Hayward. You got Highsmith Herbig, and then your linebacker core is actually pretty decent. Your secondary a bit ropey, not great, but you got the front seven who should be absolutely destroying an aging Joe Flacco. Couldn't get near Joe Flacco, sitting there all day just dropping dimes. And to ignore Jamar Chase for 100 plus yards, 16 receptions, I'm just like,
I think it was, and we knew this would be a risk, Connor, for the Steelers when they brought in some of these aging, quote unquote, defensive players, and you have Darius Slay, obviously won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, but he still is getting up there. Jalen Ramsey as well, another kind of 30-plus-year-old cornerback. I mean, is it any kind of surprise that they struggled against a top-class receiver such as Jamar Chase, and he was able to dice up the Steelers' defense for what he did?
It surprised me that Jamar Chase didn't just have a good night. He set a franchise record, 16 receptions. That usually doesn't happen in a divisional game where it's quite gritty. You would expect that in another conference game on the road somewhere, and he just goes off. But to be with Flacco 9 days and to set a franchise record against Pittsburgh, that was surprising. I was disappointed with Pittsburgh. I've been high on Pittsburgh this whole season so far. I still think they're very good, but that was a poor performance. But my goodness, for someone who has no care in the world what the final score is in me, what a game, right? I mean, Flacco and Rodgers rolling back the years, that was real football. And we've been treated to some pretty poor games on the international scene in the past few weeks. So to be able to watch that one and just that is to someone getting into the sport, that's the type of games where you're like that. And the Giants game from last night, the Denver Giants game, are the games where you fall back in love with football. So I think for the sport and for the division, because the cakewalk of a division for Pittsburgh is not so much of a cakewalk anymore, that was the best possible result. Sorry to say it for you guys, but for the neutral, it was a great night to be a fan of the NFL.
It really was great, especially for the likes of us who have been watching the NFL for so long and have, been around Joe Flacco and around Aaron Rodgers, to see them going head to head still, and for two different teams at age 40 plus. I think Flacco 41, Rodgers 42, or maybe I have that the other way around. But these lads are just top of their game. I mean, Flacco was on the couch last year. He came back for the Browns. He picked them up. And now he's winning games for the Bengals and doing it with style. So if you turned on the TV 10 or 15 years ago, you would have expected to see Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco. And all this time later, they're still slinging it and still putting on a show. So you have to respect the longevity of the quarterbacks in that regard.
And my favorite point from Flacco, when they interviewed him after the game and they were asking him, "Hey Joe, how did you get all the verbiage down? Like, you only had 9 days." And he said that the honest truth is that I didn't get it all down because there was a lot to take in. And anytime a play call came into my headset and I didn't quite hear it or understand it, and we rolled with it, it seemed to work. So just got a bit lucky, as it turns out. And he was amazing. The pass rush from Pittsburgh was poor, right? Joe Flacco did not look under any real duress throughout the entire game. And that also adds difficulty to the defense and the secondary to cover, because you got to cover for longer. If you got a great pass rush, you usually have a great secondary because they don't have to cover for as long. But just the way he said that, and that read option that he ran near the end of the game, they were supposed to have a shift on that play, but they didn't have time for it. And he just went, whatever, and ran the play. And, just you love, as a football fan, just love seeing those moments come and happen.
I mean, the pass rush twist was almost non-existent. I mean, you consider how strong the likes of Nick Herbig has been, and he emerged in Alex Highsmith's absence over the past couple of weeks. Herbig was there on the field. Highsmith was on the field. You had TJ Watt coming off the edge, Cam Hayward, and all those other defensive tackle, middle of the line guys with the middle. And yet, like Connor says, we couldn't get any real pressure on Joe Flacco, and we couldn't shut down the run. So, that kind of concerns me, because in about a week's time or so, we have the Packers coming into Pittsburgh, who present just as great a threat through the air and on the ground. So something's going to have to be done to shore up those gaps on the defense.
I mean, everyone's going to say, TJ gets doubled, TJ gets tripled. Yes, he gets doubled. Sometimes he gets tripled. That frees guys up elsewhere. If that ball snaps and at a corner of your eye you see TJ Watt and he's got 2 linemen on you, that means Hayward or Herbig or Highsmith is either in a one-on-one situation or has a free shot to get through the gap and only has a running back to stop him. And for guys that elite and that big and like that well paid, a running back shouldn't, now they can get lucky, but shouldn't cause too much of an issue for you. And a guy who's 40 plus years old who isn't as mobile as Flacco used to be, if you get through that hole, he should be buried. Mm-hmm. Like, he should, like as Myles Garrett would say, join the graveyard. He should be buried at that point. But they just couldn't do it. Like, I don't know what it was. I don't know whether they're still suffering from Crow Park hangover. I don't know, it was a short turnaround from Sunday to Thursday. Like, I don't know what it was. But this defense is not living up to the salary cap. It's not living up to the skill. And it's not living up to what, Yinzers are used to seeing out of a Pittsburgh defense. And, like, if Terrell Austin has another 2 or 3 bad games like this, he has to be gone in season. The Steelers rarely fire coaches in season. It's happened a couple of times.
Happened to Matt Canada.
Yeah, but they have to give him the Canada treatment. They have to get him out. He's not cut out to be head of defense coordinator. He's not. He is a situational coach only. But not all doom and gloom before we run. Aaron Rodgers had a great game, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
And he got tight ends involved. I mean, Pat Freiermuth needed that game badly because he had gone almost non-existent in that offense with Darnell Washington and Jonathan Smith.
Yeah, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Jalen Warren, we finally have a 100-yard rusher, 127 yards on the ground, no TDs, but it's good to see. So the offense had got a pretty good game. the defense just completely imploded and let them down. And to finish my thought on Aaron Rodgers, I know I've been very much meh about him, but he's currently the only quarterback who's had 4 more touchdowns in more than one game this year so far in the league. So
Yeah, I
he's
think
out
we
there
were
and he's slinging it.
I think we were all too quick to judge how Aaron Rodgers how well he would fit into the Steelers offense and how much of an impact he would make and how well he can still play. Connor, we're going to move on now. I promise. In the Steelers, we spent enough time living in the past that we do look 2 big tests ahead for the Steelers and the Packers and Colts. The Colts, I'm going to Pittsburgh for that game. I am worried about that game, to be
It could
perfectly
be
honest with
Indiana
you.
Jones is going to ruin your night.
I am very, very, very worried about that game. I could be like, that's a 1 o'clock game. I could be drunk in a bar at 4 o'clock out of the stadium at a halftime, to be honest with you. But look, we'll touch on that next week. Obviously, the Packers coming up this Sunday as well. So keep an eye on that one. Connie, you alluded to the poor standard of London games we have had recently, and I could not agree with you more. I would have hated to have been in Wembley Stadium yesterday. A, because it was piss and rain. B, it's so hard to get in and out of, and I feel bad for all the Irish fans who travelled over. I was nice and cozy on my couch watching one of the most boring games of the afternoon. The Rams absolutely doing a job on the Jaguars. And like surprisingly, I think, because given how little time they had to adjust, I mean, I know they had been on the East Coast practicing in Baltimore in the Orioles Stadium, but they were drawing a lot of kind of criticism for not traveling over early enough and not allowing enough time to acclimatize to the time difference. It seemed to not make a difference because Matt Stafford threw for 5 touchdowns. Devontae Adams has had a career resurgence, and they absolutely battered the Jaguars in Wembley Stadium.
The NFL make videos and mini documentaries, and they document the travel and what goes into it for an international game. How many boxes of tape they have to ship over. And long story short, they start about 18 months in advance prepping for the game, and they have sleep specialists and nutrition specialists and all this stuff that goes in to make sure that it's seamless for the players and they arrive exactly at the right time in the morning and they get out for their stretch and their walk. The Rams just went to hell with that. We'll rock up 15 hours before the game and we'll go in there and get the job done. Right? So, and that might set the standard now. It'll be interesting to see next year with all the international games what approach the teams take, because the Rams have just quashed any theory of drugginess or tiredness or fatigue or lack of adjusting to the time schedule, and they were good. They were competent. Jacksonville were below par, though. We expected more from Jacksonville, and it's frustrating, I think, for any London fan, that especially a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, because they've been coming to London for years, obviously, and they've been woeful for years. And this is the best Jaguars team we've seen in a long time, and they didn't live up to standard. And that game was done by halftime. So yeah, very disappointing. And the NFL, I think, needs to look into their scheduling next year for London, and they need to make sure they put on something special, because that's 3 very poor games for all the fans that, let's not forget, spend a lot of money to go to these games in London.
Yeah, the international scene is so strong because the dedication of the fans in London that kept those games going, the season ticket holders, who basically we all joked oh, they're all just London Jags fans, because it was the Jags for so long, was the team that went there. But yeah, Connor's right. The NFL really does have to put on a marquee matchup. It has to be it's very rare you'll do divisional games outside the US, but maybe next year get a divisional game in place somehow to, as a thank you to the London fans. But yeah, the Jags were the ones who looked jet lagged, and they were there longer than the Rams. The Rams,
Jags are there almost a week in advance. I think they've been there since Tuesday doing media and doing all that kind of stuff. And I think it's kind of high time that I think London is sick of the Jags, to be honest with you. I think the Jags were foisted on London and on the UK a couple of years ago because of how poor they were at that stage. And people were like, okay, here's a franchise we can own. And the league were glad to kind of get rid of them and make them London's team. And now I don't know I think it's just fatigue, to be honest with you. I think the Tottenham games have much more energy and buzz around them that when it gets to the third week and it's Wembley, people are kind of like, unless you're actually living in the UK, people are kind of like, who cares?
Well, I mean, when Matt Stafford rolls off the plane after flying over the day before and drops 5 touchdowns and ends the game before even the second half kicks off, I don't blame them being annoyed and being fatigued with the game. Puka Nakua, everyone's like, oh, what's going to happen? I even forgot that Devontae Adams was a Ram. Like
And
I forgot,
three touchdowns.
but I forgot he was a Ram until the first completion. Like, oh yeah, he's on the team because it's always Puka Nakua, and like I was like, what's going to happen? And then it's like, and Devontae Adams, oh yeah, he's on the team, and he literally was like, no Puka, no problem. Devontae Adams went up and just lit that place apart. So bad weather aside, yeah, like not much more to say about this game. Disappointing. Unless you're a Rams fan, then I bet you the points are flowing because you're looking at Matt Stafford dropping bombs all day.
Travis Hunter did have his first touchdown in the NFL, though, in garbage time completion from Trevor Lawrence. He did have 8 catches on 13 targets for 100 yards and a touchdown. Not a bad stat line. So he played less than expected on defense as well. I don't have the exact stats here, but I think that experiment of playing in both ways is going to be over quite quick because I think it's clear they need him on offense more than on defense. And 7 sacks as well for the Rams on Trevor Lawrence. So just a bad day at the office for the Jags. Looking ahead to the international games, obviously the games in the UK are done and dusted now, and look, nothing really to write home about. 2 big matchups coming to mainland Europe, Connor, in a couple of weeks' time. We have the Colts and the Falcons in Berlin. That's going to be a great game. I think at the start of the season, when that game was announced back March, whenever it was, people were kind of like, don't know about that. But the way these two teams are playing, and we'll talk about the Colts game later on in a short while, just because they absolutely, came out all guns blazing in Los Angeles yesterday over the Chargers. But that's going to be a really, really good game in Berlin, I think.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one. I think that's going to be the pick of the bunch. We had a good opener in Sao Paulo with the Chiefs and the Chargers, albeit I'm against divisional matchups outside of the US. But I think that is going to be the pick of the bunch when it comes to the international games this year. Indianapolis are just they're beating good teams now. They had a really nice schedule to start with. Get your feet wet, kind of Daniel Jones. Let's get Miami. And it's opened up for them now. And the Chargers, they went into LA and just tore them apart. And again, that was another game that was over. There were a lot of games actually that were over before the witching hour. There wasn't much of a witching hour last night, but yeah, Indianapolis are real. Let's just make that absolutely clear.
And then, of course, we have the Commanders and Dolphins coming to Madrid for the first ever game in Spain. And look, we're going to talk about the Dolphins game against the Browns now in a minute as well. But that game, I mean, that was actually the more hyped one, I think, because it was in Madrid. It was the first ever game in Spain. Yeah, you had a really you kind of young, dynamic head coach in Mike McDaniel. You had the Washington Commanders and the Offensive Rookie of the Year, who tweaked his hamstring yesterday and they lost to the Cowboys, so he's now out again. I'm not so excited about that one, but I am excited to see how the NFL is received in Madrid and in Spain, and to see the passion of the Spanish fans on display as well.
I think it's going to be quite similar to the Dublin game. It's their first NFL game. So because it's the first NFL game, fans are going to show up, both local and international. Like people are going to go to this game. Yeah, it's not going to be great because the Dolphins are trash. You even seen it last night. There was a couple of times where offensive linemen looked like they clearly were not blocking for Tua.
And can you blame them, really? We talked about this last week.
A lesson for smack talking them the previous week. Why would you block for him? But now with Jaden Daniels, possibly hamstring is quite tricky. He could actually miss the Madrid game. But funny enough, his mother is on record saying, "Please stop comparing my son to RG3." That's
not a comparison you want, considering how RG3's career ended.
You're putting like the hex on his career, like stop comparing him to RG3. Nothing against RG3, but don't do that. Don't put that evil on her son, is basically what she's saying.
I mean, you can't really blame her because the field there, FedEx Field in Maryland, I'm sure the turf has been changed since the days of RG3.
It took out Theismann, it took out Alex Smith.
Theismann, Smith, horrendous industries.
The exact same place, the exact same marker, exact same injury.
No.
Yes.
Not good. Let's talk about the Dolphins and Browns, because the Browns absolutely embarrassed the Dolphins yesterday, 31-6. And I've been on Twitter all day with every single notification turned on, waiting for the tweet that Mike McDaniel has been released from the Dolphins. So far, it hasn't come, and I'm quite surprised because Brian Callahan was released from Tennessee with a fairly similar performance from his team and a similar record. But the Dolphins, I mean, they committed 11 penalties or 103 yards. Tua Tagovailoa, I don't know how many interceptions he threw, including a pick six. Things are just, I mean, they've surely they've hit rock bottom now, Connor, and they cannot go any further. What has to change in Miami for them to get some sort of a semblance of a season back on track?
Wow, that's some question. I don't have the answer, that's for sure.
I love the hard questions.
But I tell you what, last week I was very pro Miami and the way they went about the game. Not about the way Tua went about it at the press conference at the end, but they were this close to winning the game, sacking Herbert, and it was done. And this week it was abysmal. You kind of feel like if they got the sack on Herbert last week and come out with the win, it's a whole different performance in Cleveland. But that's just inexcusable. You can't defend that. The amount of turnovers they had 100 yards. Dylan Gabriel had 112 yards passing. And they scored 30 plus points. You look at that and you're just like, how on earth has that happened? And then you see all the turnovers and the pick six and the short field position. And then it starts to make sense. But Miami, it's a disaster. And I don't think Mike McDaniel has covered himself in glory at the press box either, with the way the word salad that he put together last night. I mean, you just have no idea what he's referencing, what he's talking about. So I think Mike McDaniel's time in Miami has come to an end. He was very successful there with a team that was struggling, but they just looked woeful this year. And the team, that was a dejected team. Last week was a team that were still rolling, but that was a dejected team because they made the Cleveland Browns look way, way better than the Cleveland Browns are.
Especially when you consider how poor the Cleveland Browns have been in previous games. I mean, they lost to the Vikings in London. The Steelers bet them. Steelers still top of the AFC North. Let's not forget that twist. I mean, it's just an absolute dumpster fire covered in dog shit in Miami right now.
Mike McDaniels will be an offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns starting next year.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah. Like, he's going to go to the team that basically cost him the job. That's what I'm going to say. Like, that's the one when they're actually making the firing. They're going to go, listen, you lost to the Browns, where a quarterback barely threw 100 yards, no touchdowns, and you still couldn't beat them. Like, it's the Browns. But, like, yeah, I think he'll be an offensive coordinator. I'm going to say the Browns, but he'll definitely start next season an offensive coordinator somewhere. He's not going to be a head coach anywhere for another couple of years, unless he goes to the Browns and, God forbid, brings them to like the Super Bowl. Then he'll definitely be a head coach again. That's the only way he's getting back in the head coach role after this absolute massive fall from grace. Like,
and I think a large part of what led to this point is all the things that came out about the Dolphins skipping player-only meetings, showing up late to training, clear discipline issues that I think he actually lost the locker room a long time ago, and we're only now seeing what's been going on, the kind of toxic atmosphere that's there in Miami. And Tua definitely compounded things last week with his comments about the play of his teammates. So I think a complete reset might be needed down there in South Beach to kind of, if obviously that their season is gone now, they're 1-6 or 1-7 at this stage after the loss yesterday. So write this season off and start again, I think. And here's an interesting one for you. So James Franklin at Penn State got fired obviously last week after they lost. Bill Belichick is looking like he's going to be in trouble in UNC. How curious or how interesting could it be for Bill Belichick to be considered as head coach? Twist is already shaking his head. He's shutting me off here. But just think about it for a second, right? Bill Belichick obviously wants back into the NFL. This could be the opportunity for him to do so with the Dolphins.
No NFL team is going to take Bill Belichick and his like 24-year-old girlfriend who's actually running the show in with that kind of distraction. Like, yeah, he was great with like the Patriots, 6 Super Bowls. Like, you know, he stamped his legacy as one of the greatest coaches in the NFL. He went, to college, can't win for love nor money. He's completely distracted by his girlfriend.
Yeah,
and that's not allowed to be talked. NFL beat reporters are vicious. They will ask him that. He doesn't like the fact that that's get asked about. He's not going to walk back into that spotlight. Now, Penn State guy, was it Penn State?
James Franklin from Penn State. Something like a $48 million buyout from his contract in Penn State. So he doesn't have to work ever again, really.
No.
But
But he could easily end up Miami Dolphins head coach.
I think it could be an interesting one. He's had success with Penn State. He brought him to the college football playoff last year. I think he just got unlucky this year, to be honest with you, with the way things went.
He might be slightly hesitant to take a coach straight from college after the whole Urban Meyer situation. But with the Jags,
Yeah, that did not end well.
no. But I'm really interested to see Connor's thoughts on his Vikings almost toppling the defending champs.
Come on, Connor. I know you've been dying to talk about it.
The key word is almost. They didn't. Look, I think I'm out on Minnesota this year to do any real damage. I think this week was probably the most boring week in the NFL, but arguably the most defining week. Like there was no big upset. There was no result where you looked at it and you went, "Oh wow, that's a real surprise." I feel like if you look through the scores, you just look at the pregame favorite, and every single pregame favorite won the game.
I have to agree with you, actually. I was sitting there watching Red Zone yesterday evening, and even when the late game started, the late window, I was kind of going, this is weird. This is just the most kind of boring, kind of middle-of-the-road series of games that we've had. I mean, it's been so topsy-turvy and so wacky the past couple of weeks, and then yesterday happened, and when the witching hour started for the early slate, the only game that was at risk of being witched was the Vikings and Eagles.
Yeah, it was the only one that could have changed. It was on a seesaw at the end, but everything else was done and dusted. New England were running away with their game in Tennessee. The Chiefs have run away with their game. The Colts were up big. Everyone was up big, and Minnesota, they gave it a good go. Defensively, they were poor. Jalen Hurts had statistically the best game of his career. It's only the third time ever a Philadelphia Eagles quarterback has had a perfect passer rating, and of course it came in Minneapolis.
I'd say you're delighted by that.
Well, you know what? It is what it is. The NFC North is so strong this year. And again, the Lions, the Packers, and the Bears have now won 4 games in a row, and we haven't spoken about them for weeks, but they're right up there now. So Minnesota at 3-3, which, let's face it, is not bad, are rock bottom of the NFC North. So you got to be realistic. I think it will be JJ McCarthy in a quarterback on Thursday night against the LA Chargers, who are also a team that are faltering at the moment. They need to win. So it'll be interesting. Is there going to be a revival? Is JJ McCarthy actually really good? We still have no idea. Can he stay healthy? We have no idea. But I think the Carson Wentz experiment, I think if you said to Minnesota fans, your backup quarterback's going to come in, he's going to go 2-2, you'd be okay. That's okay. We're cool with that. But has he lit it up, and do we feel Super Bowl vibes with Carson Wentz right now? No. So this is the perfect opportunity to bring JJ McCarthy, permitting he's healthy, back into the fold and say, okay, you're 3-3. Let's ride. Next 3 games, you got the Chargers, the Ravens, and the Lions. That'll be a true test.
Yeah, dude. Remember, Herbert did drop 420 yards on the Colts. So he's going out swinging, so he will be a challenge. Ravens might be not too bad for you guys, but then you're obviously your divisional game against the Lions. So you've got 2 out of 3 there that aren't guaranteed wins, and even the Ravens might not be guaranteed win unless they somehow turn things around. But I've just seen there. Ian Rappaport reported that the Saints have lost their center for the season. Pro Bowl center with torn biceps, so that's a big blow for the Saints.
And Spencer Rattler had an absolute nightmare last night yesterday evening against the Bears. Bears are sneaky good. Ben Johnson's doing a great job there with Caleb Williams. They are. I think they're 5-2 now at the minute.
They're 4-2. They've won 4 games straight. And Spencer Rattler, prior to the 2-minute warning at the end of the first half, had 12 yards passing. And Spencer Rattler has been good. He has been good. He's been a lot better than last year. If you did one of those shadow images where you blurred out the quarterback and you put his stats, you wouldn't put Spencer Rattler's name there. He has been statistically excellent through the first few weeks of the season, but the Bears stifled New Orleans. Apart from that one deep bomb to Olave and then the touchdown that ensued from it, there was nothing from New Orleans all day. The Chicago Bears they're coming, and nobody's talking about them because it's the Packers and the Lions.
Speaking of the Packers as well, Micah Parsons had his first three sack career game, I think, actually yesterday against the Cardinals. So that's obviously paying off for them. I know we're kind of jumping here a little bit, but things are kind of popping out of me as we talk about them. But yeah, going back to the Saints and Bears, though, I think the big issue for them, obviously, that's not very helpful with the center being out. But Spencer Rattler needs to take better care of the football. I think he had four turnovers or 4 giveaways yesterday. A strip sacks to start the game and then 3 interceptions. So I think if you can protect him, give him more time, and somehow give him, he had a pick. Then he was targeting. I forget who he was targeting down the field, but he just basically needs to take better care of the football, as far as I can see.
Yeah. All right. We've danced around the topic long enough. I think we have to talk about the Giants and the Broncos.
We do. I was saving. I was building up to it because it's such a juicy one that we have to talk about. 33 points in the fourth quarter from the Denver Broncos.
Comeback in NFL history.
Mental.
Like, in the fourth quarter, all 33 points in the fourth quarter. It's never happened before. And the Broncos decided, you know what? We're sick of losing. We're down 19-0 in the fourth quarter. Let's put up 33 and win. Like, even Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo couldn't, their crazy connection couldn't put the Broncos away. We did mention it before we started. It does seem like Jude McAtee is going to be scapegoated a little bit for two missed extra points, but it's the defense's fault.
100% it's the defense's fault.
You give up 33 points in one quarter and you expect your team to win. You can't put all that on your place kicker.
When you look at all the first round picks that they have on that defensive line, they have Brian Burns, they've Kayvon Thibodeau, and the defensive backs as well they have. I mean, that's on the defense as far as I'm concerned.
There's the footage of Brian Burns walking through the tunnel at the end, like losing his mind because they decided to drop 8 into coverage. It's like, let them rush. You have to put pressure, especially someone like Bo Nix. You got to put pressure on him. You can't let him stand in the pocket all day because he will find someone open. And what's really weird was it was the game to memorialize Demaryius Thomas, and the Broncos win by 33, and he died at the age of 33. So, like, there's the link there.
Little coincidence there. Connor, I mean, the Broncos kind of woke up from their slumber in the fourth quarter. The Giants were having their way. Cam Scatterbo and Jackson Dart looking good again. Jackson Dart had some nice tosses. Cam Scatterbo had a nice receiving touchdown. That's kind of all we saw from them, really. And then the Broncos came out swinging and snatched victory from the jaws of defeat.
Unbelievable. But as soon as Denver got the first one and the 2-point attempt, you kind of knew this one wasn't over. Even when the Giants went down and put together a great drive and scored themselves and made it 26-8, you just kind of felt like it's not quite put to bed. And the key takeaway for me is it's not Jude, it's Jackson Dart throwing the interception at 26-16,
crucial
5
interception.
minutes left in the game. Look, this is and Jackson Dart has been terrific so far. He has been flashy and he's been so good and he's given them the spark. But this is the first big mistake of his career and he's paid for it big time. Let them right back into the game. With that being said, New York had so many opportunities to put this game to bed and just didn't, and the momentum was all on the Broncos side. And then the Broncos get on top and the Giants come back down the field with a bang pass interference call, which gets them down there. And then, you get the argument. You're on the 1 yard line. You got 39 seconds left. You can't defend for toffee. Do we take a knee here? Do we sneak it, but not really sneak it very far? Because scoring with 39, 38, 37 seconds isn't the best thing in the world, especially when they've got a guy on the other side like Will Lutz who can win the game as long as they get inside the 40. So the interesting thing is they ruled him down. He didn't break the plane, but then they went to replay assist and he did. If he's just short there and they score on second down, there's like 15 seconds left. The game's done.
Yeah. I think they realistically they outcoached themselves in that situation. Like, when you're that close and you want to run the clock, take the knee. Like, take the knee.
But the argument is they needed a touchdown, right? So if they take a knee and then they go back to 2, and then they run, and they don't want to take time out, so they run another play, and then they get stuffed the line of scrimmage, and then the panic sets in. So
it is a bit of a catch-22.
But the real coaching malpractice is how they lined up on defense after it, right? To just let them march down the field. It was a chip shot field goal. It was 39-yarder. It wasn't even like a 56, and you're like 61. Okay, fair enough. The kid hit. Like, it was a chip shot field goal.
Yeah. Dropping 8 into defense when you have elite pass rushers on your side. Like, as I said, you can't give Bo Nix all the time in the world. He will go out there and he will pick you apart. He did look shaky to start the season. He's looking better now. Broncos are starting to rev up. Like, they're revving up at the right time of the year. Like, not too early. They're starting to build up, like, momentum now. That's what you like to see from your team. You don't want to see them peak too early in the season. but at the same time, you don't want them to slog it. So you just find that happy balance. I think they're starting to find that happy balance.
I mean, like, obviously, we want to talk about, Jude potentially being scapegoated. Giants do have Youngwei Koo on the practice squad, so they do have a proven kicker that they in the wings. I would anticipate Jude being gone before the Eagles game. To be honest with you, I know you said it's an overreaction, but we talked about this in the podcast a few weeks ago. In the day and age of social media and owners bowing to fans' pressure on social media, like I saw some of the comments that people were leaving on Jude's Instagram. It was disgusting, frankly.
Look no further than Young Hoi Koo for a scapegoat, right? Week 1 and he gets cut. I mean, the guy's been a Pro Bowler for what, 5-6 seasons?
I was going to say, how did he end up? How did Young Hoi Koo end up in the practice squad? Because he was cut. It was an overreaction.
And to be in Jude's defense as well, I can't remember if it was the first or second extra point. The operation wasn't entirely smooth. Now, look, that doesn't completely negate the blame. But we know how a well-oiled machine a snap hole kick is, and anything can kind of throw it off. And Jude, to his credit, he put his hand up, he accepted responsibility. But I don't think he should have taken responsibility for the entire loss because, as we said, the loss is on the defense, giving up 33 points in the fourth quarter. That's where the issue is. It's not the he wouldn't have been in that situation in the first place if the defense had done their job and stopped the Broncos from driving down the field.
That can define your career. Look at Tony Romo. That bubble slap in the playoffs defines his
Cody
career.
Parkey. Right? And what I'll say, I'm with Jude on this. That was a great answer. What's the flip side? What's the alternative? He says, oh, no, it's not on me. I mean, the defense has got to play better.
Yeah, well, he's not going to come out and say
We're not going to say that. So,
he's in a
Tua situation. He'd never play in New York. He'd be run out of New York. Like, he'd be absolutely hunted out of New York if he said that.
He wasn't in the same class as Tua for the media training, that's for sure. So it's like, the kick went wide. You're the kicker, so you have to own up to it, and he has done. And that was the only option he had to say. He did it. He said it off his chest, and the outcome will be the outcome. We're all with Jude, but and if it doesn't work out in New York, there'll be someone else that's lucky to get him.
Go on, Twist.
Final thought on it. I don't think they're going to. I'm with the belief that he's not going to lose his job on this. The team is too hot at the moment. You're not going to pull him out to replace him with Youngwei Koo, who got cut for a similar gaff. That makes no sense. The only thing is Youngwei Koo is a former Pro Bowler. He does have a lot more experience. That could be the only thing going against Jude. But at the same time, if your head coach puts that loss on your kicker, then that's the head coach's problem.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Decision by the head coach. But,
I think as well it could be damaging. I mean, obviously you don't want to see him lose his job because we saw Mark McNamee getting released from the practice squad during the week as well last week from the Packers, which is a shame. I do think, though, these lads will get their opportunity someday. Charlie Smith is a future NFL player. I do believe Jude McAtamaney will. If it doesn't work in New York, Connor, as you say, he will get a job somewhere else. McNamee, who knows? Like he was sitting at home in Ireland on the couch when he got the call from the Packers to join the practice squad. So a kicker needy team could come calling. Broncos have the Cowboys next, Eagles and Giants. So two more stiff tests coming down the line. I do want to talk about, because we always do, and we can't break tradition on this show, Indiana Jones and the mighty Indianapolis Colts, who just cannot do any wrong at the minute, it seems, marching into Inglewood, California, and getting a win over the Los Angeles Chargers. Jones and Taylor's keep on rolling, 3 touchdowns each. And I said it before we started recording here, I think Jonathan Taylor is in with a shot of winning Offensive Player of the Year, Connor, at this stage.
Yeah, I don't think I've given Jonathan Taylor enough credit this year for the way he has played. He has just been outstanding. We've been talking about Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Ashton Genty is the big name out of the draft, Cam Scadaboo. But Jonathan Taylor, all reliable, is just, that third touchdown run, he breezed past it.
Skipping into the end zone.
Skipping into the end zone with the unnecessary little stiff arm at the end. Like, oh my goodness, Indianapolis are just so good right now. I just hope they're this good when they get across here to Germany. But Indianapolis are the runaway favorite at the moment if they continue on this vein of form for the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, look at it as I alluded to earlier. Like Herbert went out through 420 yards. You know, he had 3 touchdowns, but he did have 2 costly interceptions. That seems to be part and parcel with Herbert. He always have big games, but he always has multiple interceptions. Again, Daniel Jones going out there and doing just enough, like mistake-free football. Like he's got a star running back, 288 yards passing, 2 TDs through the air. You know, he had a good game. And when you've got a good defense and a good running back, your quarterback only needs to have a good game.
I think we have to give him more credit than that. He's obviously he's playing mistake-free football, but he's playing loose and free and with confidence. I think that's the key. Is he's playing with confidence. He has an offensive line who can protect him. I mean, Saquon Barkley said that he believed in Daniel Jones of New York. Give him that. I forget it. It could have been one of you boys said it last week, but give that man an offensive line and give him some weapons, and he's
That's
a winner.
I mean. Like, when I say he's like good football, I'm like he's good. He's like he's playing much better than he was. I'm not talking down on him. It's great to see. It's now when he bumps into a Kansas City who seems to be resurging. He bumps into a top seed from last year. Like, can he step up? I think he will. I think he's playing good football. I think he has the ability to play great football consistently as well when it counts, which is important. I think if he gets to the playoffs, which they should at this point, like there's only horrific injuries are going to stop the Colts.
They'll be in the playoffs. And they will absolutely be in the playoffs.
He won't have a test next week against the Titans. I mean, his first real test is if the Steelers secondary get the finger out against the Packers. It could be rolling into Acrisure in week 9. That could be a test.
Roll into the playoffs. Every team, when the playoffs come around, every team in the AFC should be afraid of the Colts, because your game plan from the get-go against the Colts right now is stop Jonathan Taylor. Now, previously, it was stop Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson, not too great. You've now got the problems that we stop Jonathan Taylor, we win the game. No, we stop Jonathan Taylor. Now Indiana Jones is back there, and he's throwing bombs. He's throwing smart passes, as you said, and we've said previously. He's playing with confidence. He's playing smart football. So he's playing up to his draft capital. That's the best way I can put it.
I just want to add on this, because this ties back to a previous point about how boring, but how much information we accrued this weekend from the games and the teams that are contenders and the pretenders. And there's actually 7 teams that I've looked at already and circled in the AFC that are just out of it. Right? So in the East, you've got the Dolphins and the Jets. There's no way they're making the playoffs.
Yeah, and we didn't go into it, but Justin Fields was benched in favor of Tyrod Taylor. So his time in New York is clearly over. If you're putting Tyrod Taylor in there.
So they're done this season. In the AFC North, it's only Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. I'm not liking Cleveland or Baltimore to get anywhere near the playoffs this year. They've already lost too many games. And then you go out to the West, and there's 3 good teams, but the Raiders are
31-0 against the Kansas City Chiefs. The first time Andy Reid has ever shut out anybody in the regular season, by the way.
And you've got obviously Tennessee in the South are out of it too, and the Houston Texans are hanging on by. I mean, they've been better the last few weeks, but they have a tough game on Monday Night Football tonight, and if they don't win that in Seattle, they're now 2-4. So you're looking at least 6, if not 7 teams just absolutely disregarded out of it in the AFC. So there's going to be very few teams that actually miss out on the playoffs. And so even if the worst comes to worst, Indianapolis only win 3 or 4 more games, they're going to be in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They might not be a division winner, and even then, it's only really Jacksonville, unless Houston get hot, which could happen. But they're already 4 games behind Indianapolis. So that's a long way to come back. And so I think it's looking good for Indy. And the AFC picture as a whole is very clear to see who is going to be at the dance come January.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even to go one step further, I take the Jaguars out already. Like, even if they got hot, I don't think they have what it takes to, there's other, because if you look at it, you mentioned in the West, Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs are all, it's very rare you're going to get 3 teams out of the one conference, but the way they're playing, it's all going to come down to win-loss records.
Chargers?
Yeah, as I said, Chargers, Chiefs, and Broncos.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. You think the
Oh.
Chargers are that hot? I don't think they're that hot.
Well, I mean, Justin Herbert always keeps them close.
Mm.
And always keeps them in.
They do have. They do. I mean, look at Quentin Johnson had and the way.
He's learned to catch.
Hmm?
He's learned to catch the ball.
He's learned to catch. I mean, he's finally living up to his potential.
I think if the Chargers defense can even be just above good, like very good, not even elite, they can possibly sneak in over the Jaguars, because the Jaguars are not great. Like the Patriots are going to the dance, the Bills are going to the dance, Steelers. Yes, I'm hoping. The Bengals lost to the Bengals. That might affect issues, tiebreakers down the way.
I think Drake May set the franchise record for completions yesterday against the Titans, which just shows you how like he outdid Tom Brady's record. So in his second season as well as a starter.
Then you flip to
and New England's next few games are rather simple too. If you look at their schedule, they could easily be 11-2 or 10-3, easily.
And then you flip to another former Patriots, Mac Jones. They got $400K for winning 4 in a row for San Francisco. 49ers are sneaky with him at a quarterback.
Sneaky good, like 5-2 without Purdy and without most of their defensive players and half a defense as well.
It's a mirror image of the Colts. You've got Mac Jones, who's actually a decent quarterback.
He is a decent quarterback.
Christian McCaffrey. So you've got a decent quarterback and a star running back.
Yeah,
just keep him healthy.
Yeah. It's old school NFL. You get a star running back, a superstar running back, a good offensive line, and your team can win. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Mac Jones, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, and Daniel Jones. Like, there's 3 teams there who have a good offensive line, a good quarterback, and a superstar running back. And look where they are. It's like old school ground and pound NFL football. Like, it's coming back.
It'll be very interesting to see how that all plays out. Before we finish up, we do want to talk about, because we haven't mentioned a certain Tampa Bay quarterback in the entire episode. Just does not feel right if we didn't mention.
Go for our Baker Love corner.
Let's finish off with the Let Mayfield Bake section of the show. Monday Night Football doubleheader tonight. Buccaneers taking on the Lions in the NFC, and potentially a preview of the NFC Championship game. Really. 2 high-flying offenses, Baker Mayfield playing at an MVP level, is missing a couple of key pieces, but it doesn't seem to matter to Baker Mayfield because he can score with anyone as long as he has give him time and give him enough opportunities, and he will win the game for you. This is one of 2 Monday Night Football games that kicks off at midnight Irish time. The Texans and Seahawks are also playing at 4 a.m. Irish time, I believe.
3 a.m. Irish time.
3 a.m. Irish time. I am considering watching the first quarter or the first half of the Lions and the Buccaneers purely because I don't have to get up for work tomorrow morning. Connor, this is going to be a very, very good game between 2 quarterbacks who are operating at a very high level and two really, really good teams, both with a potential of being in the Super Bowl come February.
Yeah, this is an absolute belter. I'm really excited for this one as a fan of football. I can't wait to watch it. The irony is it's going to be a very good team that loses tonight, but whoever does, don't rule them out. These are 2 excellent football teams with 2 quarterbacks that are playing very, very high level football. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. It's going to be a great show.
Twist, who do you like, Lions or Buccaneers in this one? I know you weren't too hot on the Lions earlier in the season, but they've come good.
I'm still not hot on the Lions. I'm still sticking to my guns. They'll either barely make the dance or they'll just miss the playoffs. I think. But I'm going, as you said, let Mayfield bake.
Let Mayfield bake.
Even with Mbuka and Evans, who are currently questionable, because Mike Evans full practice on Friday. That's a good sign. Mbuka limited practice. Chris Godwin is out because he did not practice 3 days in a row. So he could have one of the 2, even both receivers back, even in a limited format, which would be a huge boost for Mayfield. But even without those guys, it's Baker. He's going to go out there. He's going to put that team on his back. He's going to then put the stadium on his back. He's then going to put the state of Florida on his back, and he's going to pull himself to that end zone and win that game.
It's going to be, as Connor said, it's going to be an absolute belter of a game. I'm so tempted just to even stay up for a little while, just suck it up. I haven't stayed up for a game all season or in a long time.
Don't take a nap now. Stop complaining.
I'm staying up for the Packers and Steelers next Sunday as well. Aaron Rodgers' revenge tour continues. That's going to be some job. But
I'm staying up as well. It's midterm break, so I'm staying up for it.
Connor, we also have the Texans and the Seahawks on Monday Night Football. Kind of an afterthought, really. I mean, we've kind of forgotten about the Texans a little bit. Seahawks are playing very well. Sam Darnold's having a great season as well. Another kind of under the radar season as well. I mean, you have to go Seahawks in this one, don't you?
You do, but the Texans had an early bye, so we forgot about them, and they got off to that 0-3 start. And when teams start 0-3, they never make the playoffs statistically, so that's why they've been written off. But they're on a 2-game win streak, so don't write them off just yet. But funnily enough, if you wake up early enough tomorrow, you can catch the fourth quarter of the Texans Seahawks game.
It'll still be going at 7:00 Irish time. Wait and see.
Yeah. If you're up early enough,
that's insane. I don't know how. Obviously it's a late start on the West Coast, but
yeah.
Just imagine being a Seahawks fan and thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to stay up and watch this game, and still been it'll be almost getting bright by the time that game is over tomorrow morning.
Well, that's when you get to bed early and you just set your alarm for 4 if you really are that dedicated.
Die hard.
Yeah, if you're that committed to watching it. But I think will also be a fun one, a close one. Sam Darnold's playing excellent football. CJ Stroud has been forgotten about since his rookie season. We haven't really mentioned him too much. But I'm also looking forward to watching the highlights of that one tomorrow. I won't be staying up for it.
Game in 40 all the way.
Absolutely, yeah. And just before we wrap this up, I have to mention this stat because I have it here beside me, and it's completely off topic. But yesterday, if you want a one-sided game, which there were a lot of them, the Kansas City Chiefs have more first downs than the Las Vegas Raiders had offensive snaps yesterday.
31-21 or something like that, wasn't it? I think I read.
Yeah, it was one. They had 30 first downs to the 29 Raiders plays, and prior to garbage time, which there wasn't even much of it for the Raiders, they had 48 offensive yards and 2 first downs.
Yeah, so the Chiefs are back, especially when they have all. I think we knew it was coming when they got all their fast, speedy wideouts and skill players back. It was only a matter of time before they started doing damage.
Yes, but the other point to that is coaching hot seats. Pete Carroll is, it hasn't looked good. It hasn't looked good from the Raiders all season. So that maybe if we don't get the alert from Mike McDaniel here in the next few minutes, maybe we'll look for Pete Carroll in the next couple of weeks too.
That's an interesting one. It did cross my mind yesterday watching that it could be an unexpected firing before the season is out there in the desert in Las Vegas.
I'd pump the brakes on Pete Carroll getting fired just yet, just because of the coach he is. But I'd also emergency break on the Chiefs are back. They just beat up on the Raiders. Whoa, slow down. It's the Raiders. They went out there and they were kneeling at 2.5 minutes left.
They did. I saw that. I was like, oh my God, that is the ultimate kind of white flag.
And then in the first quarter, at 4th and 1, they call the play and Pat Mahomes is on hot mic going, this never fucking works. And the Raiders fall for it and jump offside. I'm like, so yeah, pump the brakes on. The Chiefs are back. We'll see. It's the Raiders. Give them an actual team, an actual NFL team to play against. Sorry,
they did last week. The Lions.
Yeah, give them
Look, Connor, we learned Twist is not a Lions fan. He's all in the Packers, even though they barely bet the Cardinals yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Lads, we're going to leave it there.
Yeah.
We are almost at the hour mark. Thank you very much for your time, as always. Another great episode. Make sure to follow us on social media if you are listening. Subscribe, like, share, etc. Do check out our sponsors, Print My Pint, on their website, printmypint.ie. We have discussed doing a second episode during the week where we kind of look ahead to the games and talk about Thursday Night Football. Keep an eye out for that. And Stephen and Connor, all the best, boys.